Hey everybody, it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I am super excited to be joining my friend Alice over at Scrap Happy for load day 23. And so we will kind of talk about what the prompts were as we go. But I had been on TikTok the other day and saw a video that Gina K had done where she had taken rubber bands and put them on an acrylic block and then used them to stamp with. And she was making like a plaid background for a card. And it got me thinking, and I was like, hey, this would totally work for a scrapbook layout too. So I'm going to go ahead and start with these red lines. And this works perfectly for day 23 of load because it talked about having like rigid lines and using this like the feel of concrete and architecture and all that jazz. So I thought these lines were going to be perfect for that. And so as I went, I kind of let my rubber bands naturally move around so that I didn't get the same image every single time. Sometimes the lines were closer together, sometimes they were further apart. Certain areas stamped better than others, and I inconsistent. So then what I'm going to do is the same exact thing that she showed in her video. I'm going to come in on the opposite side now and put in some black lines instead. And so rather than worrying about mine being like an even plaid, I'm just kind of varying my lines. So I'm just going to add these throughout that entire area. And I'm not going to use this whole sheet as my background. I'm going to end up tearing off this part. So what I decided to do is I'm using this Samba ink, which is not red, it's not pink, it's not really coral, kind of like a corally red. And I'm going to go ahead and just ink blend over this area where I have already stamped. And this is just going to kind of give me a little bit of a textured, I don't know, variation in the look. So it takes away some of that extra white space. And then I went ahead and took my spray bottle and just sprayed some water over the top and let it dry for a minute. And it kind of gives these water spot look to it. And so I'm just kind of mopping up the extra. And I really love how that looks. So if you're using water reactive ink and you just kind of mist a little bit of water over the top, it gives it a really fun water droplet look. And that was perfect for this layout because I am scrapbooking a photo of my family of 5. And we're at an amusement park doing one of our favorite things, which is going on all of the water rides and getting soaking wet. And so the story prompt for today for load talked about things that remind you of childhood or just having fun, being, you know, spontaneous and adventurous. And so that was perfect for this particular layout. Now, I am going to go ahead and do some more altering to this area where I have done my mixed media so far. So I've grabbed a couple of stencils and I'm going to add some extra fun details here. And right now, my plan is, and I will get that cord out of your way. I'm so sorry, you guys. I didn't even realize until I was like partially done. Anyway, it was one of those days. So I'm using black and gray inks. And I originally had planned on using the layout with this on the side. And that doesn't end up being what happens in the final version of the layout. So I'm thinking in my head that I am making a border for my page, and it ends up that this is going to go across the top half of my layout instead. And you'll see when I get to the point where I make that switch and I'm like, wait a minute, this looks a lot better and is going to work a lot better the other way around. So one of the things that I really enjoy about playing along with load over at Scrap Happy is the fact that it really encourages you not just to tell some different kinds of stories with the story prompts, but also to try out some techniques. So we've got this technique today with these strong lines and some concrete colors. So I'm trying to get some of those grays in there as well. And so this washi tape on black cardstock will also kind of give that impression of a little bit of gray. And I am going to come in and add some more mixed media still and alter some other things. But now, magically, through the magic of the internet, I have my photo out, which I'm just going to back with white cardstock. And I have these white letters, which are my favorite font called Rip Your Float. And I'm going to use those to spell out my title. And so what I was thinking during this time was that I want to do a little bit of altering to those letters because I need the white to have them stand out, but I also want to have a little extra detail. And so the fact that I have some white elements going on now, I've got the white mat on my photo, I'm going to have this white alpha, it kind of prompted me to pull out a little bit of a piece of cut file so that I can kind of tuck that in as well. So I'm just going to take this piece of cut file that I used on a different layout and trim out some of these little star bubbles so that I can create them into a photo mat. So if you are someone who is always afraid of cutting up your cut files, please just jump in and go for it. I absolutely love the look of cutting up a cut file and rearranging it on the page, tucking it into my layers. And so those are definitely some techniques that I would love to see you guys try. And if you do, make sure you tag me because I would love to see what you guys are making. So I'm going to take some little pieces of this star cut file and just tuck them in kind of around my photo, just as like an extended photo mat. And it's going to kind of tone down that background that I created a little bit, but it's going to make everything feel like it coordinates a little bit better. So then I want to use the word soaked to be my title, and I'm going to have it go along this washi tape strip down here at the bottom. And I love that these alphas just really pack a punch. The font is so cute. It's oversized. I just love it. But I didn't want to lose that reddish coral element from the top of the page because the whole bottom half was only black and white. So what I went ahead and did is kind of created this little red ombre on top of my letters. So it's going to be darker red at the top and then kind of pinkish in the middle, and then it's going to fade down to white at the bottom. So I'm still getting that nice white contrast, but I'm pulling a little bit of that red element down to the bottom half of my layout. So then I had some of these Redefine Creative wood gears that I knew I wanted to use. But the color of the wood veneer was not perfect with my layout, so I'm just taking some ink and I'm going to make them into black gears instead, because I just feel like that kind of goes along with the layout a little bit better. So I'm scattering those so that I kind of have 3 areas that are going to have that extra dimension, creating a nice visual triangle around my picture, you know, all of the fancy things that we do to kind of make sure our layout is balanced. And I do have some journaling I'm going to go back and add to this page when I am completely finished. But then I'm still sitting here thinking that I wanted to play around with some more mixed media. So I don't know if I really consider this a complete success, but it was fun to play around with it. So I grabbed these perfect pearls and added a little bit of water to them. And I was thinking it was going to give me an opportunity to kind of distress through a stencil in certain areas. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, you guys. So I want to play around with this technique again because I've seen some people do this technique with success. I'm not so sure that it's a success on my layout. To me, it kind of looks like spilled milk. But you can tell me if you think that it also looks like spilled milk. But I'm going to add this in a couple little areas down by my title. And I was trying to do it through this stencil. And it kind of looked cool, but then there was an area of the stencil where it got really splotchy. So then I decided, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of wipe it away with my finger a little bit. I don't know, you guys. This is where it starts to get a little hectic here. And this is kind of my fear with mixed media, is that I do all these things and then I kind of mess them up. I like how it looks, and I like that slightly distressed look, but it is not exactly what I was going for. So I go ahead and grab this gear stencil, which is absolutely one of my favorite 12 by 12 stencils because I feel like I can use this on anything. And I'm going to use that with some metallic silver ink to just add a little extra detail, and then I'm going to carry that detail up to the top of the page as well. So this is me like saying, hey, I'm going to cover this up and make it look intentional. Because of that kind of weird shadowy area I have going on at the bottom. But you know, we can always fix things. You just keep going. I'm going to finish off with some black splatters. Of course, I splatter all over my picture because that is just what I do. But that's going to do it for this one. So hopefully you are playing along with the load challenge. You're enjoying all of the prompts. I have loved sharing some layouts with you, and I will be back to see you guys again really soon. Bye, everybody.